My name is Troy Fiesler, Habitat Biologist for the Game and Fish Department located in Pinedale, and this presentation is an overview of habitat projects we perform throughout our region. Please keep in mind that while most habitat projects have multi-species benefits, this presentation will focus more from a mule deer perspective. First off, rather than just highlighting what we are currently doing, I thought it would be important to show you where we are at to date in terms of vegetation treatments across the region. Represented on this map are habitat treatments across our 2 mule deer herd units from around 1960 to 2023. I provide this to show that habitat management is a continuous process over time, and many people before us have worked within these habitats on improvements. Projects such as prescribed fire, timber management, and shrub enhancements make up nearly 650,000 acres that have been treated over time. Invasive annual grass treatments, which we will discuss later, have been performed across 142,000 acres, and although not generally lumped under habitat restoration, there has been approximately 750 miles of fences converted to wildlife-friendly standards to assist wildlife in their daily and seasonal movements. So where have these projects taken place? The majority of acres treated have fallen within spring, summer, and fall habitats of mule deer range, and have included projects such as aspen restoration, mixed mountain shrub enhancements, prescribed fire, and other timber management activities. I have also included wildfires on the map, represented in yellow, because these contribute to the maintenance and improvement of habitats over time by creating a diversity of multi-aged plant communities that we know deer and other species prefer. In order to be most beneficial, management post-fire is critical to realize its true benefits, but these are still important disturbances occurring across the landscape that can have positive influences on wildlife habitat. It is a good thing that most projects have occurred within these habitats, since we know that the more fat animals have entering winter, the greater chance they have at surviving the winter. And these habitats throughout spring, summer, and fall are where deer and other animals are accumulating those fat reserves. As managers, we often look to these plant communities for opportunity for improvement, such as increasing the quantity and quality of forage by creating early to mid-cereal plant communities, given their influence on the nutritional condition of animals. But just because we know that more fat equals a greater chance at surviving winter, as well as improving the subsequent fawn survival and recruitment, managers have conducted many treatments across winter ranges as well. Represented as light blue on the map, winter ranges have had treatments totaling approximately 108,000 acres in the form of shrub improvement and enhancements. Over 70,000 acres have been treated for noxious weeds and invasive annual grasses, and 250 miles of fencing has also been improved for wildlife movement. Again, even though deer are relying on their fat built up over summer to survive winter, food on winter range still matters. Deer are primarily consuming new growth of shrubs during winter, such as sagebrush, and there is a relationship here that the better the shrub productivity is, the better chance of surviving winter. As habitat managers, winter range treatments look to maintain shrub stand vigor and improve age class diversity of plants. Old and decadent shrubs are less productive, and treatments target these communities in order to set back succession and release resources for the establishment of younger plants as well as for improved productivity. It is important to note that these treatments are investments for the future. Treatment objectives may not be met in these systems for decades following implementation. Sticking with shrub productivity, I wanted to share what it looked like going into this current winter. As a result of the above average moisture we received last year, shrub production was about double the long-term average. Represented here is mountain mahogany in the Calpet and Little Colorado winter range complexes, and you can see that while not record-breaking, production was the highest over the last 20 years. This monitoring provides managers insight into available winter range forage, as well as the health and condition of shrub communities. And if we look at this winter specifically following last year's cataclysmic winter, it is just what the doctor ordered, which is exceptional shrub growth and forage that is staying accessible given the mild conditions on winter range this year. As discussed briefly earlier, the age and health of shrubs matter. Data from last year shows that transects where only 30% of shrubs were decadent, meaning 50% or more of the plant is dead. Average growth was over 9 inches, whereas areas that 70% of the plants were decadent, growth was around 4.5 inches. This highlights the importance of maintaining healthy shrub communities that can maximize productivity from year to year. Lastly, for winter range habitats, we see that the ability of deer to move freely matters in terms of survival as well. A lot of this is tied to snow depth and winter severity, which are difficult to predict year to year. However, an option we have as managers to help with this is to make improvements in fencing. By creating gaps with crossing structures, as pictured here, or leaving gates open and respacing wires, we can make it to where moving between habitats during harsh conditions is a little easier for animals. Moving forward, the next series of slides will be highlighting the current ongoing projects that the department is working on within our region. Those projects are listed here. First, we have the Wyoming Range and sublet mule deer habitat projects. These projects resulted from our mule deer initiative process that took place over a decade ago, where habitat improvement was one of the top recommendations received from that process. Both of these projects are cooperative projects between the Game and Fish and BLM, targeting improvements to mule deer habitat in the Big Piney and LaBarge areas, as well as the Mesa and Ryegrass winter ranges. These projects are intentionally landscape scale and have been in progress for about 10 years and will likely extend for many more years with continued implementation and follow-up management. Winter and transitional range habitats are the main targets for these projects, and to date have included 22,600 acres of sagebrush treatments on winter range, 1,700 acres of prescribed burns, primarily in aspen conifer habitat, 3,100 acres of aspen mechanical preparation, and over 4,000 mountain shrub plantings on winter range. In conjunction with treatment implementation, there has been ongoing follow-up management, including noxious weed treatments, as well as livestock rest following treatments to allow recovery. The project map on the right identifies areas that have been treated from 2014 to 2023, and the light blue represents mule deer winter ranges to help highlight where projects have taken place in relationship to various seasonal range habitats. The following are some photo examples from the project. As mentioned earlier, we strive to establish younger age classes of shrubs following treatment. This image shows seedling sagebrush establishment after a mowing treatment, and this photo was taken 2 years after implementation. And these two photos show a typical sagebrush community targeted for treatment. The photo on the left was taken prior to treatment and shows that the sagebrush is lacking productivity and has a higher proportion of decadent plants compared to the photo on the right of the same site 3 years after treatment, where you can see improved growth on the sagebrush. This photo on the right is taken directly in a mowing path, the area between the yellow lines. And one reason I chose this was to highlight that even though we are mowing sagebrush, not all shrubs are removed or die during that treatment. Many plants persist, and you are seeing the results of those plants responding to treatment in this photo. Lastly, for this project, I wanted to show what a typical stand looks like that we target with prescribed fire. It is common to see dense conifer suppressing or inhibiting growth of aspen and other species, as shown in this photo, due to a lack of disturbance. With fire, we are able to obtain something like this. This photo is taken 2 years following a prescribed burn, and you can see the aspen response combined with a more productive understory. Fire allows us as managers to set back succession in these communities that have proceeded away from an ideal condition. We know that mule deer, as well as other species, prefer and do better under several stages that are early to mid, which is represented in this photo. Another one of our largest ongoing projects is the treatment of cheatgrass. Cheatgrass is an invasive grass that is widespread in a variety of habitats across the West. This invasive species is one of the greatest threats to our native rangelands and the wildlife that depend on them. Due to its life cycle, cheatgrass is able to outcompete other native plants, as represented in the photo on this slide. It can dramatically spread, impacting the overall quantity and quality of forage. And this degradation, combined with its ability to facilitate wildfire and increase frequency of fire, is the reason that considerable resources are dedicated to combating it in Sublette County and other areas. Since 2012, partners have worked together within Sublette, Teton, and Lincoln counties to map and treat cheatgrass. To date, over 100,000 acres have been treated using both ground and aerial applications. And the best tool available we have is the herbicide Rejuvera, which inhibits plant germination in the top layer of the soil. Our post-treatment monitoring has shown that we have a resilient native plant community, and we have been successful in reducing cheatgrass cover. This table here shows that prior to treatment, on site there was 84% cheatgrass cover in 2018, and after treatment with Rejuvera, we have maintained control at 0% or trace amounts to date. These next couple of slides represent examples of response to treatment. This photo, taken on Saddle Ridge within the Calpet Winter Range complex, you can see the density of cheatgrass and lack of native grass and forward production combined with reduced shrub vigor. On this slide is a photo of the same site 5 years following treatment. Cheatgrass is essentially non-existent, perennial grasses have recovered well, and shrubs have better seed production as well as annual growth. Next is the Monument Ridge Vegetation Project. This project was proposed by the Sublette County Forest Collaborative back in 2016 to address vegetation management within the wildland-urban interface, wildlife habitat enhancement activities, along with safety and access improvements. Primarily an aspen enhancement project on the Bridger-Teton National Forest, as well as a fuels reduction project to mitigate wildfire. This area has been prioritized for disturbance due to the significant conifer encroachment of older age aspen stands that are critically important to mule deer and other wildlife. The project will primarily rely upon prescribed fire after mechanical slashing at conifers to accomplish fire behavior necessary to meet vegetation restoration goals, similar to other successful treatments completed in the Wyoming range in recent years. As we sit, units are ready for broadcast burn, and the next attempt will be burn windows provided this coming spring. Next on the list is wet meadow restoration projects. As the name implies, these projects focus on wet meadows that have been slowly degraded due to overuse and/or improper management, leading to channel incision, soil compaction, and erosion, which are widespread problems reducing the overall function and resiliency of these communities. I'm sure everyone can think of a place they have been to that looks like one of the photos represented here. The loss of natural water storage capacity in these systems is of concern, especially in low precipitation areas where wet mesic areas represent a small fraction of the landscape, but are disproportionately important to wildlife. Restoration techniques will include the installation of simple rock structures known as zedic structures. These structures are intended to kickstart regeneration of ecological processes to assist in reversing the trend of degradation over time. Structures will also be placed in locations to reduce or stop active erosion, such as in and near head cuts. The overall objective of these projects will be to slow and disperse water, dissipate energy, capture sediment, and increase soil moisture to promote mesic and wetland plant species expansion and channel recovery. Achieving this will help to improve wildlife habitat, water quality and quantity, soil health, drought resilience, and overall watershed health. On this slide are two examples of structures that we utilize. In the upper left is a Zuni bowl structure. These are generally used in large head cuts. In the photo on the bottom right is a rock rundown. It's essentially a mat of rocks that you lay within the drainage. These can also be used in areas of small head cuts or other erosional features. This slide shows the same structures 1 year after construction, and you can see the water holding capacity following the implementation of these structures, as well as the longevity of green up in the surrounding vegetation. Outside of habitat, I spend the other half of my time working on fence-related projects that are more favorable for wildlife passage. The Upper Green Fence Initiative, which includes Game and Fish, the Conservation District, NRCS, our land management partners at BLM and Forest Service, among many other people including NGOs, carry out the majority of these fence-related projects. The projects are prioritized based on ecological values, such as migratory habitat and crucial ranges, as well as on current fence conditions. There are numerous fence options that fall within wildlife-friendly standards, but we typically convert fences to either a 4-strand design, 3-strand with top rail, or drop-down/let-down fencing. All are built to a height of 40 inches, no greater than 42 inches tall, and with a smooth bottom wire that is at least 18 inches off the ground. Removal of fencing are also prioritized throughout the region. Recently, more emphasis has been placed on building structures and fence lines that are easier for animals to get through. This can be as simple as building gates to leave open or installing modified H-braces or post and rail designs with no wire to increase permeability as shown in these pictures. Fence projects have really snowballed in our region and have gained a lot of traction, and we are now close to 750 miles that have been converted to wildlife-friendly standards in the county. These are primarily landowner-assisted projects that our Fence Initiative works collaboratively to accomplish, and we are looking at around another 50 miles this coming year for implementation, as well as 100 crossing structures over the next 3 years. I often get asked about how people can help with some of these efforts. One of the best things you can do is advocate or show support to land managers for habitat projects. If there are means for financially supporting these projects, there are definitely avenues to pursue that with. Also, there is generally volunteer opportunities on an annual basis, such as fence removals and modifications, to helping build rock structures in wet meadow restoration. In addition, I ask folks to learn to ID noxious weeds and plants and report those when found.